Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Shade of Pixels podcast. I am one of your boys. I can't even do that. I'm sorry.
Boy.
I am just one of your hosts, Shawn Richards, also known as the Heartbreak Kid, also known as the lesser of my other two magnificent hosts, one of which is the always amazing BJ Brown.
What up?
And the also just as amazing and glorious Esteban Cuevas.
Chaboy. Yo, what up? I'm here to say I'm rapping in an awkward way.
Choke.
Mom spaghetti. Spaghetti. Donatelli. Italian.
That's right, word skills.
We don't have a lot of Italian rappers these days. You know what else is the dying art? Console manufacturing. And that's what we're talking about today on the Shade of Pixels podcast, where we break down gaming topics to their shadings and their pixels, topic by topic, every day. If you're listening to us on our YouTube channel, every day.
Not right now, because apparently YouTube is like kaput right now.
Oh yeah, YouTube is down right now.
Yeah, apparently.
That's right. I'm glad we are trying to stream on YouTube because we'd be pissed off.
Yeah.
So
That's right, Wu-Tang.
but you can always catch us on Twitch. On Twitch, you got us. And you can always catch the audio version on Spotify. Mm-hmm. You can now catch us on Google Play if you are an Android person. If you're one of the Apple cult, then we are working on something for you guys. But
if you're part of the upper cult, you're screwed in more ways than one.
That's right, SOL. That's right, out my face, Apple. But if you want them Spotify heads, we on Spotify too.
Yeah,
you can stream us all day long. Just listen to all of us, all episodes, all throughout the entire day, even when you sleep, and have it on your headphones and just have it on repeat every single episode. That's right.
Apple people can access Spotify. You're fine.
Exactly. You're good. You just won't be able to get on iTunes for a minute.
Yeah.
That's right.
But don't worry. We got you.
That's right.
We got you.
That's right. It's the Rock.
All right. But today, just like how you are an Apple person or an Android person, just like it was Genesis and Super Nintendo, today we've got the big three, fellas. We got Sony. We got Nintendo, we got Xbox, but we really don't see Sega. We really don't see Atari. We don't see Neo Geo getting in the game anymore. So what happened to those little guys? They come back. Do they rise from their grave and become a zombie? And could the zombie take over the entire console market once again, guys? What do you think?
Hell no. That's right. Thank you for joining us, guys.
That's it. Bye.
Best episode ever. No, seriously. Look, we all know that right about now, any and everybody is trying to put out a gaming something. Okay.
Yeah, we should point that out. This topic was inspired because there have been a lot of micro consoles coming out from old consoles in the old days, and then a lot of manufacturers from those old days are actually starting to come out with something kind of like that, or something replicating that. Like SNK has the Neo Geo arcade thing that's coming out. There's Sega is making their own mini console. A better one, because they actually did release one. They've been releasing them actually for a while now, but now they're gonna actually make a good one. And
full-fledged actual console rather than just a little mini micro console.
Well, I mean, like it's still an old Genesis, but it's supposed to be anyway good.
No, technically speaking, they are trying to go full-fledged next gen. They're doing a console, not just a mini console that just. Yes, they're trying to go all out Dreamcast 2 style.
I didn't hear that.
Yes, they are. They announced that they're trying to go Dreamcast 2 style, going full-fledged next gen console. Yes, look it up.
This is news to me.
I'm telling you, they trying to do it. Atari, on the other hand, they are leaning more so.
Atari that's going through with the brand new console. I have not heard anything about Sega.
Yes, yeah. Sega's doing it also. Atari, theirs is like I forget what it was called because there's even like a project name out for theirs.
Yeah. I know Mattel, or it's not Mattel anymore, but Intellivision.
Yes,
is Intellivision their own thing.
And on top of that,
we're gonna say like a Mattel console was like for Barbie or for Hot Wheels, because that's what I think of Mattel. I'm like, a Hot Wheels console. Fuck yeah, give that to me. Give me a Hot Wheels console.
Somebody wants it.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Hell, I want it. I'll buy it.
BJ, do me a favor.
Yes.
Your mic, can you lower it a bit because you're peaking a lot?
Oh, okay. I'll stop eating my microphone.
Oh, okay.
That's basically what I was doing.
Okay.
But yes. Also, Google is trying to throw their hat in the ring.
They're doing a streaming thing.
Yep, they're trying to do a streaming console. Also, I think somebody else is supposed to be doing one, and not a mini console, but like a full-fledged console. But I can't remember who the other person's supposed to be. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, everybody and their mama is working on a console, and in a way, I've got a weird feeling that might be part of the reason why we're hearing news that Microsoft and PlayStation are working on their next gen now, even though it almost feels like we're at the big, like the first or mid-level of their current generation. You know what I mean? It kind of seems early for them to be working on it, honestly, but that's what they're saying. Because technically speaking, if they're working on it now, we should be seeing their new consoles by 2020. Yeah. Basically is what they're saying.
Yeah.
And it seems a bit early for me.
To be perfectly honest, it actually seems about on time. Yeah, one thing you have to remember is the last generation they kept saying it's gonna be 10 years.
Right. And they said this generation was supposed to be like a 10 years.
This one was supposed to be 10 years as well. That didn't happen though. It ended up being like 7 to 8 years, which was more than the previous generations, which were always 5 years.
Yep.
But if you look at it that way, like, oh well, it's probably going to be the same as the last generation, then it's about on time because both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 were released in 2013. So if they released a new console in 2020, which I do think they're going to do, it's about 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And I guess.
Also, keep in mind that they've tried to prolong this cycle with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. So, but those were basically add-ons. Those are basically just a step up. Those were not completely broken down, reworked. Let's get a new UI. Let's get everything set up with a new architecture so that we can go on to a brand new console.
And
these are just, the PS4 plus or the Xbox One plus.
And they actually did that last generation as well. You can say that I don't even remember what the PlayStation thing was called. I forgot, but like the Kinect and the whole motion control stuff, that was essentially like an add-on for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, and that was sort of like their way of rebooting, well, not rebooting, but adding on to that generation so that they can continue on for a couple more years.
I kind of disagree on that point because the PlayStation Move and and the Kinect, I feel like were just their way of saying, "Oh, look, Nintendo's actually doing well for once. Let's copy that." I feel like that gimmick is kind of like how PlayStation VR is right now. It's basically a gimmick used to sell additional hardware, and they basically made the PS4 Pro for the PlayStation VR, so that you could have more firepower, basically, to have those expensive goggles. But
yeah. I mean that's what was going to happen. I think this generation as well. The only difference is Microsoft's HoloLens didn't really pan out.
Yeah,
because that was
it wasn't necessarily that it didn't pan out. They're still working on HoloLens.
Yeah.
The big issue that they had was there was a lot of pushback because of Google Glass and their AR things.
Yeah.
So what they wanted to make certain was that what they were showing in that was going to be something that everybody could really program to and that they could use. And plus, once they saw all the VR stuff drop, they wanted to see how that was going to take hold and catch, which it really, I won't say it didn't, but it didn't.
It's extremely
the levels. Yeah, I mean, PlayStation did okay. They made a profit out of it. They sold like roughly 2 million of those things, which is good. But, you put that 2 million next to how many consoles they sold, and it's like, you know what I mean? So it's enough to keep developers making games for it, but it's not quite enough for them to say, okay, this is going to be a diehard feature of our next console.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by it didn't pan out. I mean, I know they're still working on HoloLens, but they were pushing up before, like, look what you can do. Look, there's Minecraft, and now we don't hear anything about that because their approach was like, this might be too early. The Google Glass thing didn't really work out, so let's, instead of making it part of the Xbox One X and all that, we're just gonna wait. That's kind of what I mean by it didn't pan out. So
they basically recognized that they messed up with the Kinect, but they saw that PlayStation was making a big VR push, so they were like, we've got to announce something, but we're letting people know we're not jumping on this VR bandwagon right now. And that's basically the reason why they did. They were like, okay, PlayStation, you go ahead. This is what we're working on. And when we're ready, we're going to drop it. You go ahead and play around with the headsets all you want. It was basically the way they were looking.
It was supposed to be VR versus AR, but then they went, well, let's just wait.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're definitely going to wait because they knew it wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And here's one thing that really brings me to mind, kind of going back to the whole old console manufacturers kind of going back into the game, so to speak. Fun. But it's kind of where Xbox is having their push as well, because in their most recent E3, their biggest push, and I feel like their biggest surprise and thumbs up from me, was the fact that, hey, we bought 5 new studios. I think they've even looking at acquiring more. Yeah. But like, we got this studio, we got this studio, we got this studio. And what are they going to make? Games. They're going to make first-party games for Xbox. So going forward, we're going to have a massive library, because they saw when people talk about Xbox One, the PS4, they are talking less about the actual tech specs of the console and more like, okay, so these consoles are great. They can basically play whatever. What can I get on just that console versus that console? And I feel like first-party titles are going to be a new console killer. If you don't have that first-party push, that first-party lineup, as well as that third-party support to back you up, then it doesn't matter if the newest console is going to be the best, cheapest, most magnificent thing ever. You don't got software, you don't got a console.
Yeah.
So in terms of like all the other makers, I don't know. That's the reason why you have these mini consoles, because you can have Neo Geo have their own little mini arcade because they have Metal Slug and some of the fighting games. But if they don't really have as deep of a console of a library as people would expect. Sega, on the other hand, who not only has Sonic and bring back Alex Kidd and Knights and
Never gonna happen, but okay.
Yeah.
stuff. All the stuff from Sonic and Friends Transformed Racing. I don't even care enough to look at the title, but you also remember they also have Atlas to back themselves up, and Atlas has a deep roster of things that they publish. So you not only bring Sega, but you bring Atlas into the mix as well. Now you have a deeper library to kind of push. Imagine this. You get the next game. It's Persona 6 or Persona 5 Golden or whatever it's called. It's magnificent. It's brand new. It's shiny. But it's all on the brand new Sega console.
Yeah. I think okay, you brought up the third party thing, and this is actually what was going to be the crutch of my argument. I think any of these companies, if they really wanted to, they can come back and make a new console, and they can be successful if they have strong third party support. You have to, and I mean have to, have strong third party support. Because if you look throughout the entire history of the video game industry, the console with the strongest third-party support wins. The one with third-party support exists. If you do not have third-party support, not only do you lose, you go out of business.
Pretty much.
And first-party stuff is fine. But if you have the strongest, hi Dee Dee, my dog. If you have the strongest third-party support, or at least just strong third-party support, you will at least do just fine. You have to have that though. As great as the Sega Dreamcast was, one of the reasons why that ended up going under was because it did not have the third-party support. They didn't have Electronic Arts support.
Yep.
That was a big one.
That was huge.
They refused to put any of the Madden or NBA Live games on there back when NBA Live actually mattered. So,
yeah, they did get lucky though. At that time, they still did have NFL 2K and
they had their own games,
which did really well and they performed really well. But again, even with that, there were still big name games that everybody wanted to play, but they didn't want to have to buy 3 or 4 different consoles just so that they could play all those different games.
Exactly.
Because the Dreamcast was the stepchild of everybody else at that point, because their online didn't quite work when they said it was going to work, and Xbox was killing it, and it just fell to the wayside.
So that's what you need, because even with Microsoft, like right now, buying up studios so that they can have a bigger, better first-party lineup, that's great and all. And that's going to be something that people are going to point to and be like, hey, this is the benefit of getting an Xbox. But last generation, it didn't matter, because they had the strongest third-party support. You saw marketing for Call of Duty on Xbox 360, not PlayStation 3. You saw marketing for let's say Minecraft on Xbox 360, not on PlayStation 3, even though it was on there anyway. And that's where people went to. You even saw, like, I just mentioned the sports titles. You saw marketing for Madden and NBA 2K on Xbox 360, not on PlayStation 3. That's not where they aligned themselves. And that's why back then, it didn't matter that their first-party lineup wasn't that great. Halo, Gears of War is fine and everything, Forza, all that, and those are good games, but there's not a lot of them. But that didn't matter, because everyone was playing the games that they wanted to play on Xbox 360, because that's where they were told to get it.
Yeah, I think it had a bit more also to do with some of the other things that Xbox was doing around that time frame, like shoring up their network, having their online service.
I don't know.
Having their online service a bit better. That I think that kind of edged out, on top of having the third party support, because it wasn't like PlayStation didn't have third party support. They had
no, they did, but they had the strongest.
I mean, you think about it with PlayStation, and this has always been a thing with PlayStation. They've always had a stronger lineup of like your Japanese RPGs when compared to Microsoft. So, they had a corner on that market. So they had their third party support. But to your point, I still think that when it comes to any other console outside of Sony and Xbox, because between the two of them, they both have great third party support, regardless of the generation. They both had great third party support.
Yeah.
Outside of that, anybody else that tried to get in the game pretty much didn't.
Well, let me explain a little bit more, because, like, for example, not that it doesn't matter, but it's just it's not as big as a factor as I think you think it is. I would still argue that right now Xbox One has better networking options and support than the PlayStation 4. But nobody cares. They're still going to PlayStation 4 because that's where everyone else is, because that's where all the third parties tell them to go. But to make my point and to go like back in the past, during the Super Nintendo and the Genesis days, a lot of games were being released on both consoles. You had your Mortal Kombats, you had your Street Fighters, you had the sports games, you had all these things. But because of the marketing where they would tell you to go, one of them was always seen as something better. Usually it was the Super Nintendo, because like, oh look, it looks better, So, like, if for that reason, you usually be like, oh, I want to play Earthworm Jim. I'm going to go and get it on the Super Nintendo because it looks better. Because that's where they told you to go.
Yeah, but it didn't have blast processing.
Yes, it did. And I'm going to tell you something right now. That's something that bugs me a whole lot, because blast processing, in a way, is real. But Nintendo told everyone it wasn't, and that's what everyone believes.
Great marketing.
So,
wins every time.
Going off of your point, Esteban, first of all, I was just looking for all of my third-party Wii U games, and I realized I didn't have any Wii U games. So, yeah, there's that.
There is that.
But that's why, if anyone says that Nintendo doesn't need to have third parties to success, is a moron.
Yeah. But here's, like, one thing about it, and this kind of goes back to the PS3 as well as the Wii U in terms of third-party support. One of the big things about it, it makes me it reminds me of the N64 era as well. Because if you think about it, PlayStation dominated that market, that generation. And the N64, while people still remember it fondly for its first-party support, didn't really do all that well in terms of the third party, because it costs a lot more to manufacture for the N64. And going off of that, if you look at the PS3's internal architecture, yeah, they tried to say, oh, it's more powerful and all this, but it was notoriously difficult to program with. That's why you have a lot of games that ran so much better on Xbox 360, ran like shit on the PS3. Take Skyrim, for example. Skyrim was infamous.
Oh my gosh. That's a great example. Yes.
Yeah. Because that's
and that was a big deal. Because that was a massive game. That was a big deal. And I think that was a huge push in Microsoft's benefit around that time frame.
Yeah,
even though they were already doing well, that was still like, ugh.
Yeah, that was near the end of the life cycle, but that was a great example of how, because of the hardware, you lack the software support.
Even the Elder Scrolls before that one, Oblivion, even PlayStation 3 ended up getting it late, and then it still ran poorer than the Xbox 360 version.
Yeah,
I actually own both versions of that. So I recently loaded them both up, and I was looking at them like 360 just runs so much better, and for some reason even looks better.
Yeah.
Yep. It was just easier to work with.
If you look at the Wii U had utterly disgusting Fisher-Price game bag.
Pretty much.
While it still had all the buttons there, it had the gigantic screen in the middle, and Nintendo was just like, hey, look at this, do something with this. And like, no, we really don't. We would rather work with the things that actually work better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what, happened on that.
Another quick note, because this doesn't entirely apply to us in America, but it does for Japan. The fifth generation, the one with the PlayStation, Saturn, and N64. Here, the Saturn lost out, but it was actually for a reason that none of us realized, and it was because Sega of America was dumb and didn't port half the games that they got in Japan over to America. The Saturn actually had some third-party support, even more so than the Nintendo 64, and as a result, they had more games. Because of that, even then, like the argument of, the architecture of the system is hard to work with, which, don't get me wrong, the PlayStation 3, it is hard to work with, just like the Saturn was. But because they had the support, even that doesn't matter, because the Sega Saturn actually outsold the N64 in Japan.
Yeah.
Because they had at least some third-party support. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the library.
Did Saturn use CDs or did they use cartridges?
That was CDs, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's actually why the third parties gravitated towards the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, because they used discs.
Yeah,
and
even though the architecture of the system was so bonkers, they decided to put up with it because they were like, well, at least it's on CD.
Right.
Yeah, and CDs are cheap to make, whereas cartridges, especially for the N64, were just more expensive to make. And whenever they are more expensive, you're taking more of a gamble on that, whereas CD is just, it's a CD. Okay, it's cool.
Yeah.
Easy, cheap. It's widely available.
If I was clever, I would grab one of the cartridges that's sitting right over there, that's in like a trash basket that I have, because I still have my 64.
Oh, I do too. Oh, I do too, my friend. Absolutely.
I never owned an N64.
You're not missing much.
Yes, you are. You're missing out. Love that.
Here's what I will say: the games that are worth playing on the N64 have been ported to something else now, and it's better to play on there because you don't have to deal with the controller. The only exception that comes to mind are wrestling games.
Yes, wrestling games were bonkers on the 64. Woo!
Yeah, that's the only thing that comes to mind. Everything else, I mean, I guess I'll miss playing Cruisin' World.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. It's not a bad game, but you're fine.
No, you're fine.
Everything else, like your Ocarina of Time, Smash Bros, and everything like that, you can download on the Wii or something and then have a better controller with it. So,
I think third-party support is essential. Having that, I think having a good first parties it's a good foundation.
Yeah,
it's a good foundation to build up upon. You have a weak foundation, doesn't matter how good your house is, it could crumble. It doesn't matter how good your foundation is. If the third-party support isn't good, it's going to crumble as well. You need to have a good balance between the two, and if you have that balance, then that's what makes a good console.
That's why I'm very surprised that when we heard about Telltale crapping out, that because Google's making this big push to get in the console market, I'm surprised somebody with the bank like Google wouldn't have done something like swoop right in and say, hey, you know what? We've got an idea. Scoop. Yeah. Next thing you know, exclusive Telltale games on a Google console. How big would that be?
I think that'd be good. I wonder. I know exactly maybe why someone wouldn't do that. And I think it's because it's pretty well known now that that place was not managed well.
Mm-hmm. And when you buy it, you swoop in and you restructure.
That's what I was thinking. But it was so, like, all the debts and everything they had because they're just basically borrowing money from anybody and not making any of a profit. My guess would be that maybe somebody thought, maybe I wait until they go out of business and then I try to scoop up their properties rather than the company as a whole.
Yeah.
Just
That's
because they were such a freaking mess and because they were handling it so badly.
Or
otherwise, though,
for a steal, you could say, hey, guys that came from Telltale, I know it's tough. You're looking for another job. Hey, how about you come over here? We start this brand new development studio called Smell, and we got a brand new one. We'll pick up all your properties. It'll be just like before, only much better. You don't have to have that dirty old name associated with it. We got you. We got your back. Yeah. But I have
smell.
I have one word as to like, I don't think Google's going for a traditional console. They're doing the streaming using Google Chrome.
It wouldn't matter with a Telltale game. Put that on anything.
I mean, that's true. But it just reminds me of the reason why Apple doesn't get into the console market again.
Yeah, I was gonna say
with the Pippin.
Yeah.
So
even Apple has failed at this, and it's because you need third-party support, and they did not have that.
But trust me, if Google has taken note, which I'm certain they have, for all the other generations, and recognize where Steam went wrong with their Steam PCs or whatever the hell those stupid Steam machines, whatever the hell those things were supposed to be. And, all these other little consoles like the OnLive and I'm certain they took notes on all those other little things. And because they're going the right way. From what I heard, they're looking to snap up studios. That's the big thing that they're working on. They're snapping up studios because they already know they have the technology to set up whatever little stream box that they want. It makes no sense for them to build some custom architecture, hardware, such and such thing when they've got software geniuses to the yin yang that could set up, something on the back end and just, have the ultimate UI, have the ultimate, setup.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I mean, all these companies are maybe making a comeback. I would love to see them do that. Atari is priceless. They're classic. I would love to see them come back in some way. I think Sega has the best chance of doing it just because their backlog of properties is just insane. Even without Atlas, they're fine. Just having Atlas with them is just beautiful. But all these consoles, whenever they failed, it was because they didn't have the third-party support. The Atari 7800 had no third-party support. The Atari Lynx had no third-party support. Atari Jaguar had no third-party support. That's why those went under, and that's why Atari went out of the console market. It was Sega
probably
Dreamcast.
A bit more than that too. Atari was just
and then there was
money. They just were kind of similar to Telltale, just mismanaged.
Yeah, what was that dude's name? The guy who ended up taking up Atari in the mid '80s, Jack Trammell or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right. Sounds slimy enough.
Yeah. He was a dude who's like, I don't want to be in the video game industry. We should start making computers, and they kind of did that. And they had, there's been Atari computers, and those did well, but that's why the video game side suffered.
Right, because they redirected their energy.
Yeah, and then with Sega, they didn't. Sega Japan just screwed them up. That's kind of what happened there. Sega Japan took over, and then they didn't know what they were doing, and then they didn't. And as a result, because they got burned by the Sega Saturn, a lot of third parties didn't support the Dreamcast, and then that's what ended up taking that company. So it's all about third party support. If you have third party support, you'll do fine. If you don't have it, you won't even exist. And if you have the most of it, you win the console market. Simple as that.
All right. I think we got a few more things to discuss on this. But before we dig into it a little bit further, I think we should take a small little break, get everything all together, get a drink of water, let people
time out.
When we come back, we will continue this discussion and wonder, can it be done?
Wu-Tang.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, just like we always are, except that one time where Esteban's computer crashed. But that was a long time ago. Let's not worry about that. We are past all those technical difficulties because we're back.
Unlike YouTube.
Yeah.
No, actually, they might be back. I don't know.
I don't know.
Just throwing shade. Sorry, YouTube.
We're talking about Google's awesome streaming service. They can't even get their stupid video platform to go right.
Yeah. Also, I remember hearing that test for Assassin's Creed Odyssey being streamed on Chrome, and that only went kind of okay. Some people were like, "Wow, I can't believe it works," but it runs like shit.
No, this just happens when you let copyright bots take over YouTube. Yeah. Suddenly, everything goes to hell.
YouTube as a whole got a copyright strike. That's what happened. This is all illegal.
But yeah, so we almost got it established. It's third-party support. Third-party support. Consoles. So
yeah.
With that being said, if you were Sega, say, all right, you sit down with all the Sega execs and say they all speak English because my Japanese is no good. Ie no hongo. whatever.
Nope.
If you were to sit down, how would you talk to EA? How would you talk to Activision? How would you get all these third parties to say, hey, come on board with us, make us a legitimate console, and we will break the big three? Like, do you think
they could do it?
Could be done?
They could do it.
Yeah.
That part of it, honestly, I don't think would be hard. I think if they found a way that they could match or come close, if not surpass either of the big three when it comes to their architecture and their power and all that other kind of stuff, just make it, like we were talking before, just make it so that it isn't really difficult to program on their console. They could get third party support. But the key is going to be, and I pray to God that no other console maker decides to do this. But as long as they don't mess around and try some weird gimmick, like make it, only work with, some kind of VR system or, something weird gimmicky like that.
Yeah.
The biggest key not the biggest, but a big key in my mind for them to even make a dent in either Microsoft or Sony's numbers is if they have not one, but a few first-party games that are buzzworthy that people really, 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 really want. Just big name, buzzworthy first-party games that are exclusive on their console.
And that's that's relatively easy to do because just buy the studios. Just do what you're doing already.
Yes, they buy the studios, but they got to make certain that, you can buy studios. That's not a big deal. But you got to also make certain that whatever studio that you get is working on something that that you can put your money behind and that is marketable, that is buzzworthy. Because you can buy plenty of studios.
Either that or they have a license that would be buzzworthy and they can either work on that or you can get another studio to work on it.
That would actually be an even better idea. Have a licensed game as an exclusive. If somebody like for instance, here's the big one right here. Whoever gets, and I doubt any one console maker did this or would do this, but whatever console buys up the studio that's doing that damn Harry Potter RPG that we've been seeing flashes of or whatever, if somebody had that as an exclusive, I guarantee you they would have big numbers.
That's Rocksteady.
For that console.
That's Rocksteady.
I think it's Rocksteady. Yeah. If somebody just flat out bought Rocksteady and was like, look, you're only making games for our console, I'm telling you, people will go bonkers because people have already said Harry Potter, it's Harry Potter, number one. Number two, they were hyped just off of the gameplay they saw on that short gameplay video for Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. Dude, it's already got buzz. And all we saw was a little short clip of video of the gameplay that said that it ran really well. And it's a Harry Potter property.
Okay.
Sega, buy Rocksteady now. I'm putting it on wax.
Okay, real quick. Well, number one, Sega doesn't need to. Sega has so many IPs.
They have that they're
IP. Fine.
It's cool, but look, I'm telling you, that's a guarantee right there. Big time guarantee.
That's sort of a bad idea because all of the paperwork that's involved. First off, Rocksteady is already owned by Warner Brothers, who owns Harry Potter. To get yet another third company to make it a exclusive that will not be exclusive for very long.
You don't have to have it for very long, just enough for them to market it as such. You know what I mean?
Or
how that goes. It's kind of like saying,
Warner Brothers have a limited exclusivity deal. You see this with Call of Duty and
I'm certain Warner Brothers would never let them do that exclusive anyways. 100% exclusive. But they could still do a
like a full exclusive. I'm not saying like
they could do a time exclusive
on the Sega console. I'm saying, okay, you wanted this Harry Potter game, you want the next amazing like Shadow of Mordor type of game. Mm-hmm. You want that? You can get it a month early, 2 weeks, even 2 weeks early if you buy the Sega console.
I think
that wouldn't be enough.
I don't think neither one of you are thinking exclusive the way I'm thinking exclusive. When I think a first party exclusive, that is not a first party exclusive. None of this is first party exclusive. These are third party exclusive, essentially.
Yeah,
that's a third party. If it's timed, it's third party.
Yeah,
but if you had it if you could do it first party exclusive, which in Esteban's right, because of Warner Brothers, they wouldn't give up the numbers for a big player like Sony or Microsoft.
For that to be a first party exclusive, like the company, like Sega, for example, would have to buy Warner Brothers. That's not going to happen.
That's true.
That's not going
to
happen.
Could. Even that is hypothetical. If they could, and Rocksteady was its own entity, and they were just buying the license from Warner Brothers or something like that, and they allowed them, and they had that's basically the kind of buzz. That's all I'm basically trying to say. If they had that kind of buzz around the game, that was licensed, even if it wasn't licensed, they had that kind of buzz around the game. That's what you go for.
What's up, Sean?
Can I have Sega buy EA or someone else buy EA?
Nobody wants it.
No, that's poison. That's poison goods.
No, that's poison. I just don't want EA to be to do EA things anymore.
Well, just let them go out of business and have somebody buy up all the properties that would actually use them.
But they're going to take every single other little studio with them, like Visceral.
Well, they already did.
You don't want them to do that. I like DICE. DICE is good. DICE does good stuff. BioWare is not dead. They have
but
issues,
they're going to be.
But they're not dead. They're still in the game. They're still in there. I don't want either of those studios to die.
Here's the tragedy about EA, okay? If EA would stop being such pugwads, they would be the most beloved company in the whole freaking industry, because they have both classic and new IPs that's for kids, for teenagers, for young adults, older adults. They cover the entire spectrum of the video game industry, but they will not stop being assholes, and that's why they can't do anything. They used to have a console of their own. The 3DO was technically made by ex-Electronic Arts developers, and even they didn't do it right because they can't stop being assholes.
Well, I mean, you think about it. How many big studios can you say have not gone that particular route of assholery at some point in their career? Because at the end of the day, they're trying to make profit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no, that's true. Look, Sega have been assholes.
Yeah, I mean...
Sega have been assholes. Atari have been assholes. The problem with Electronic Arts is they won't stop being assholes.
They're trying. Look, I will give this much to them. They are trying now because they've recognized... I'm serious. They're trying harder. Beforehand, they weren't trying at all. Now you're actually seeing them make attempts. Like when it came to NBA Live, they're making an attempt to try to do good by NBA Live.
I have heard that this year's NBA Live is actually half decent.
It's okay. The AI is still crap. Yeah. You know, it'll be a while before they ever come anywhere near sniffing 2K because of that fact. But everything else around it, like the mechanics, the graphics, the way it plays, is very good.
I mean, they did. They are making a new Command and Conquer, I guess. Technically.
It's a mobile game, but okay.
I mean, you know, again, Battlefield, they're trying to make an effort by not having DLC packs. All of their, stuff will be for free. You know, DICE
that's
is trying.
Weird because my understanding is that Battlefield is actually okay. People really enjoyed Battlefield 1.
Yeah, Battlefield 1 was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I still enjoy it. And I mean, a part of that, though, is they recognize that their old model of having the expansion packs with, just delivering maps and was a sore point and had been a sore point for a long time. And, I mean, Call of Duty doesn't care. They're going to continue to do that because they're Call of Duty. But they actually listened to their fan base and they were like, you know what? this is an issue. This is a problem. You guys don't want this going forward. So we're taking that to heart.
Okay, here's my response to that. I've heard this all before. I remember Electronic Arts in 2008 when they were releasing Dead Space and Mirror's Edge and all these new ideas. And look what that put us. They stopped doing it again.
Look, I get it. It has happened before, but there's one thing. It's like I said before. It's one thing to go the Call of Duty route and just say F the world, or go the 2K route and just say F the world. We're boosting our microtransactions to infinity. We're making you pay for 3 maps at $20 a clip or whatever. There's one. It's one. You can go that route, or you can actually take to heart a bit of what your community is saying. I'm sure there's still assholery going in there from time to time, but they are at least recognizing that their community is like, look, you're like an ass hair away from losing a good portion of your community. Do something now or we're ghost. And they're like, okay. You know what I mean? And they're trying something. They're at least trying, is my point. Because on the flip side, you look at like freaking Call of Duty. Like, for instance, here's a really, really big example. Somebody made a really, really good point about Black Ops 4. All of that hoopla around Titanfall. When Titanfall dropped. Oh my gosh, this thing is online only. There's no, there is no campaign and all this other kind of stuff. Well, guess what? Black Ops 4, 0 campaign. There is no campaign in that game. It's most of it, if not all of it, is all online. There's a couple of like little things where you go through a short storyline for each of the operators that are in that game, but a majority of Black Ops 4 and all of the multitude of modes are all online.
Is Zombies still offline?
You know what? I think Zombies might be both. You can set it up with like private matches and like local co-op or whatever, but there's no campaign.
What I remember Call of Duty being and I actually have not played a Call of Duty until recently, actually, because I decided screw it, since everyone was talking about Black Ops 4. I loaded up Black Ops 3 since I got it for free back on when E3 they offered it for free. The way that I remember it, and it seems like it was back then, which at this point this game is 3 years old, it was the campaign, zombies, and shoot each other. And shoot each other is the multiplayer, campaign is a single player, and zombies is a mixture of both, where it can be played either way.
Good point. Yeah.
So you got like half offline, half online, essentially. So my understanding is this new one is not like that, and the only thing that's offline is the one half of zombies. And I guess now there's some other small little thing you can do. I don't know. Yeah,
I'll put it this way. Part of the big key feature of Black Ops is supposed to be your battle royale.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's all online.
Yeah.
Your zombies has been there. It's always been there. But, it's one of those game modes where if you're not playing with somebody, it's near impossible to do anything really, really significant on. Because it's just difficult to go through each of the little phases and zones or whatever by yourself. Which I'm sure you can set it up by yourself offline or whatever, and you can run through it. But it's just hard as butt cheeks, and it's just not fun. But the other little part of it, like I was saying, they have, because each of it's character based, they have little short not story mode, but they've got little short campaigns for each one of the little operators to kind of learn their backstory. But it's not like a 10-hour bonanza or
like
8-hour bonanza
or something, right?
Right. It's not your traditional campaign or whatever. And that's basically what I'm saying. They can skimp on all that stuff and throw most of it online. Yeah. And there's no blowback whatsoever.
Well, I will say, one, I think there was blowback when they first announced that there wasn't going to be a campaign. And secondly, I never said that Activision are not assholes. They absolutely are. Colin, motherfuckers keep trying to sell you the same game over and over again every year.
What do you mean trying? They do.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Black Ops 4, literally almost every single map is one of the older maps from the previous Black Ops.
There you go. There you freaking go. See, they keep selling you the same game over and over again. That's assholery shit.
That's
but the
literally
thing is, though,
what it does.
But at the same time, Activisions are still assholes. But at least I can always point. At least with Activision, I can point to one of their games and be like, "This is fine." At least, for example, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. All 3 games remade for $40, budget price. No strings attached. That's fine. They're doing it again with the Spyro Reignited Trilogy that comes out later next month. No strings attached.
And that's easy money, though. That's easy money. Just re-releasing games, that's easy money.
Fucking, they can fuck that up, too. They re-released Call of Duty 4... tied it to freaking Infinity War, wouldn't let you buy it until later, and then they resold you the DLC. These guys can be assholes, but
There's
they
no
weren't.
DLC for Crash Bandicoot, though. I'm just saying that
There is. They actually remade 2 levels, one that was cut and one that was just like a brand new one.
Yeah, it was a brand new level that they made.
Yeah, the second one. There's 2 levels. There's one that was a cut level, and then the second one that was a brand new level. And they were free.
Wow. Now that is fan service.
You cannot be an asshole. You can do that. You can do that. And they have done it. So, fine. The other thing also is Activision doesn't make as many games, so I guess they don't have as many opportunities to be assholes.
They're not as big of a... Well, I won't even say that now. They've got Call of Duty. I can't even. I was about to say they're not as big of a publisher, but
and then they had Destiny, which is also a whole thing.
To be fair, they are, because it's Activision and Blizzard together. On the Blizzard company, not as bad because Overwatch do release their new characters and new maps for free. They don't charge anything extra for that type of DLC. They just have loot boxes and microtransactions and all that fun little good stuff.
Well, honestly, I consider like Blizzard and Rockstar, they're like freaking unicorns, and Valve. It's like they're freaking unicorns. They are like, they have like the ultimate properties that they basically could just only make those 1 or 2 games, and they could freaking rule the world with those 1 or 2 games or franchises or whatever. They're kind of unicorns, you know what I mean? And they don't
kind of
100% go assholey with it because they already make so much money off of those franchises.
And they kind of have, motherfucker, I did not forget about the auction house in Diablo 3.
That was hilarious.
So,
but because I didn't play that and didn't particularly care, I don't even know the whole outrage behind it, honestly.
But I mean, the point is, though, is that, well, one, this is completely sort of an aside to what we're talking about. And 2, EA, I still feel is the more asshole company, but I'm not going to sit here and try to defend Activision either. But the only thing is, there's like pockets of good that I can point at and be like, this is actually fine. But the other thing, though, going back to what we were talking about, when I think first party, like we go, this is ours. No one else can have this ever because we own it. The only reason why someone would ever get this is if we actually give it up. And which has happened before. Sega with their 2K stuff was exclusive to them because they were making it in-house. But then when they went third party, they sold the license and visual concept to Take-Two, and then they made 2K games out of it.
Take-Two. Yep.
So that's why that exists. Sega, for example, would probably be able to get Electronic Arts help now because now they don't have a competing sports game with them. That's the reason why they didn't want to work with them to begin with, because they didn't want to compete. Which, another example of EA being assholes, but okay, there you go. Yeah, I think a lot of these companies, as long as they don't have something that's actively competing with them, or at least will not be competing with them at the same time, you'll be fine. That's, I think, the reason why.
But do you agree, though, that the whole rabbit hole that I was jumping down is that in order for any additional console maker to even begin to sniff breaking into the console market and staying in it, they've got to have some kind of, they got to have a buzzworthy exclusive that is theirs. That will break them into it, because otherwise they're just another console that plays a lot of the games that the other two big names already have.
Well, one, I would say that's what Nintendo does, but two,
no, Nintendo doesn't do that. They've got all their properties.
They do, but it takes them forever to make them.
It doesn't matter. Everybody wants to play Pokemon. Everybody wants to play Mario. Those are huge properties. Huge. Their big thing was their consoles just wouldn't, their actual consoles just had issues staying alive because they didn't have third-party support. But they could always do decent selling, and then the Wii U was just ugh. Everybody knows what happened.
They lost the third-party support. They had it at the beginning,
right? They lost all third-party support,
and then they lost it,
right?
I guess you're right. My only concession would be though that it can't be priority number one.
Oh, definitely not. No, but that be priority number one. Has to be in their realm of saying, okay, this is what we're going to do in order to release the console. It has to be in their strategy.
Yeah, but I feel like that's not difficult because you could always just buy a studio or a popular IP in order to do that. And I don't mean like a license like Spider-Man or something. I mean like, for example, if Atari wanted to get back into the console market, they could be like, we're making a brand new Pac-Man that's going to be exclusive, and it's going to have all this crazy stuff that you're going to get excited about. Someone would have to have some sort of crazy idea that would bring Pac-Man into the new generation, because the way that it was done back then would probably not get people excited. Yeah. But it would be something like that. But also it could maybe not be Pac-Man. Atari has other properties that maybe they can use.
Pac-Man World, the open world RPG. Booyah!
There you go.
Run around eating everything in first person. There you
go. Sega has no problem with that. They're just making another Sonic game.
Pretty Alex Kidd reboot. Come on.
Look, no one cares about Alex Kidd. Sonic replaced him.
Better.
How dare you?
Even better. Altered Beast. Golden Axe mashup. Booyah!
I actually wrote up an idea for a brand new Golden Axe that I had. It's supposed to play kind of like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
And there you go.
Better yet, I just thought of an amazing company that they could snatch up. It's small and maybe not that prolific, but it's got one amazing IP that recently made a comeback. Scrap Accolade. Bring back Bubsy.
No!
Yes.
God damn it, it's taking me too long to write this script that I'm writing that I keep thinking about, and freaking I know Bubsy's going to be the next game and I just want to get to it, and god damn it!
They already halfway try that on Microsoft, some little Microsoft game.
Voodoo Vince. They remastered it. I don't know
why. They remastered Conker's Bad Fur Day terribly.
Yeah. I think that might have been what I was.
It looked good.
Yeah.
Looked good. They censored it for no reason.
Yeah.
And then they took out the multiplayer for this other thing, which wasn't bad, but not good enough to replace all the other multiplayer games that the other one had.
Yeah.
If you ever played Conker's Bad Fur Day, they have a minigame on there, a multiplayer minigame on there called Heist. That was my shit back in the day. It was so good. You're all trying to run around and rob this bank, but you can double cross each other. Here's what you do. You run around until you find the big ass freaking bazooka and just blow everyone up into smithereens. And then just grab the money bag and take it back. And what's awesome about it is that when you pick up the gun, sometimes they'll say, "Badass motherfucker."
Oh man,
it's so good.
All right.
I think that's it, though.
Last question.
Yeah, go for it. You're the host.
We might have to talk about it. Is it worth it? Do you think it'd be worth it for Sega or Atari come back into the console market, start everything fresh all over again? Or do you think that they are better off making software but not hardware?
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of opportunistic in this regard. I'm willing to see them try. I mean, what happens if it doesn't work out? They go back to making software, right? I'm not against it.
All right, BJ.
As a gamer, I'm not against it, but from a business point of view, like I was saying before, unless they've got some huge blockbuster first-person game in their back pocket that they know is going to shake up the world,
first party.
I wouldn't take the risk. Yeah, first party. I wouldn't necessarily risk it. I would stick to making little mini consoles, kind of like Atari's doing.
Yeah. I'm kind of on the side of BJ here. I love how optimistic you are, Esteban, about it. I just think because of not just the first party games, because you're already making those games there. So putting them on a hardware of your own isn't going to be hard at all, but trying to get all that third-party support again and trying to get everybody on board just for a first console when it's failed before, as well as trying to go through all the research and development for it, I think it's going to be way too much of a cost, because if they have to make the console, it's got to blow everyone's freaking mind. It's got to make Wii numbers. And unless they have something that is that top tier that they know is going to make those numbers, I don't think they're going to go for it.
My rebuttal to that would be, I would argue that the PlayStation 4 didn't really blow anybody's minds, and at least in terms of the console. It was just another powerful console. The only reason why people bought it was because it had good games. And I think at the end of the day, that's why whoever has the third-party support the most wins. It's because at the end of the day, people just want good games.
I think it's more than just people want good games, because again, you've already got PCs, you've already got the PlayStation, you've already got the.
Let's put it that way. You want good
games. Yeah,
you've
already got the. I mean, you've already got your phone, your freaking smartphones. You've already got your smartphones that do a lot of people's retro gaming and casual gaming. I think it's a lot harder nowadays than it was even 10 years ago to try to break into the console market. You know what I mean? Yeah, I yanked my cord from my headphones. But you know what I mean? It's like we kind of saw how the Steam machine tried to work its way in here. NVIDIA tried their little shield. You know, it's hard to make a dent. And if you think about it, there wasn't a real market for either one of those consoles. Like the Shield, what kind of real market was there for that? Like, and the Steam machine,
they were trying to create a new market for what they thought was a need.
Right.
Was there, but it's just it wasn't big enough to be its own market.
Yeah, not to necessarily dent what was already the casual gaming and the other two hardcore gaming markets, your PC or your your Sony or your Microsoft. I think it's a lot harder nowadays, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. But it's kind of to Sean's point. I think unless they're shaking up the world with something, I don't see what it gains them. You know what I mean?
I have to disagree that I think you have to shake up the world, because these last two consoles have been doing just fine, and they didn't shake up the world. Even with the Xbox.
We're established, though. That's my point. Because a big part of Microsoft and Sony, the reason why they do well and continue to do well is because they have their networks, and their friends are already on those networks, subscribed to those, online networks.
But they swapped this generation.
A lot of times people when they buy those consoles, they look at what the price point is when they have to enter it and what their friends bought. So if more of their friends, and that's what happens, because most gamers that have a decent amount of money are going to end up getting both consoles. Yeah. The only way they don't get both consoles is if they buy one and then they look at the other one and say, oh, all their exclusives that they have on there, I don't particularly care for. I'm just going to stick with what I've got. The rest of them are going to be like, you know what? I'm getting both of them because I just want both of them. Because both Microsoft and Sony are doing really well. But their price point is pretty high. So that's why anytime anyone else wants to come in the market, the biggest way that they're going to do it, number one, is they got to come under that price point. And then they have to have something in there that those other two don't. Because if you got the same stuff or close to the same stuff, there's no point.
I
there's
think the
no
price
point.
Is
it's
more
already flooded the market with the Microsoft and Sony. If it's already flooded with those consoles and those gamers,
we also
why are they going to spend another $300 for another console so that they can play the same third-party games they got on two other consoles?
We have to imagine, though, that they would be releasing these consoles around the same time as everyone else is going to be releasing the other ones. No one would release a console right now. They would wait until the next one is going to come out so that it's an even playing ground, because everything resets to zero.
It's still not an even playing ground, because again, you still have your subscription service into their online market. Okay, so you're still paying for that online market, and that's where your friends are. That's where people switch, yes, but they still have that subscription. They're still going to pay for that subscription. So if they're where their friends are, that's where they're going to go first. And that's the key. That's where they're going to go first. They're going to go with what is familiar and what they know first. That's why I was like, in order for them to break in and make serious numbers, they've got to do more than just be there. It's got to be more than just be there. You know what I mean? Hey, Sega's making Dreamcast 2 and we played it. Okay, fine. I'm already playing my God of War on such and such, or my Halo Infinite on such and such. What have you done for me lately?
What I mean? I think like if Sega came out and said, okay, we got our Dreamcast 2, we got our Pluto, whatever. We're gonna just have, like, here's the controller. It's no bullshit. It's just a good controller. It's gonna be 250. It's gonna be just as powerful as the other things, except maybe all the games run on like SD cards, so there's no disk drive. That's why it's so cheap, right? So like it's just a good, powerful console that just plays games. It can still do Netflix and all that stuff. Sega has a background with online play, so like you can assume that the online service would be fine
if they beat the price point.
I don't see. There's no
if
gimmick
they beat
to
the
what
price
I'm saying.
point, they can break in, because that would be their big thing. That would be their big thing, though. If they can beat the price point and they can match or surpass the performance, they can break in. But again,
I don't think that's a gimmick, though. I don't think that's like something. I don't think that's a gimmick. I don't see that as being something like.
No, I didn't say gimmick. That's how they'll break in. Is what I'm saying. It's still going to be, even with it being cheaper, it's still going to be hard. You know what I mean? Because your network performance has got to be on point.
Yeah.
You got to have your online service on point. You got to offer something on your online service that the others don't, or equal to what they already do. There's already so much that Microsoft and Sony already provide. Because they've already said, guess what? We're giving you all your free games and your backwards compatibility. They've already said that that's what they're working on as a baseline level. Microsoft has already made that a point. They said they want their service to be a service and not hardware going forward. So going forward, you've already got your backlog of games that you've already gotten for free and bought or whatever that are going to be running on this thing. Sega's not going to have that. Same thing for PlayStation. They're going to have PlayStation Plus. They're still going to have that service where they're providing that kind of stuff. Whether or not they have backwards compatibility is still but I'm telling you, they've got that. They've got that in their back pocket right now. Sega has to do more than just slide
backwards compatibility is not really a problem because Sega has already clearly shown that they're willing to give up their old catalog for next to nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, you get our online stuff and you just get like 100 Genesis games right off the bat for free. That would not surprise me at all because they give away their games for free right now on Android anyway. On Android right now, they give their games away for free.
Yeah, but would they do it on the console?
They'll probably do that too. They'll be like, you get our Sega Forever online service, and here's 100 Genesis games for free. They would totally do that.
Genesis games? Okay.
Well, look what Nintendo's doing right now with freaking NES games.
And that's not working.
Balloon fight.
Balloon fight.
We need to go to break, Sean. We got to go to break.
Yeah, we got to go to break, guys. We'll see you next where we give you our final thoughts. We'll be right back, people. Stay tuned. Thank you for sticking with us. I have to apologize about these two going off on tangents about EA and all this kind of stuff.
And Wu-Tang.
Hey, we're back. We got everything settled out, but we have yet to hear your thoughts. So let us know. Tweet at us and let us know. Would you buy a Sega console? Would you buy a Sega machine for $250 if it had Sonic and other stuff Sega does on it.
Other stuff.
Panzer Dragoon.
Well said.
Right? Because apparently I'm the only one that likes Alex Kidd and wants to see that franchise return.
Look, if they did something good with it, fine. Fine.
They'd have to work for my money.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. I'll settle for a Billy Hatcher remake. But while we are waiting for the glorious Sega and Atari consoles to come back, you can always check us right here at the Shaded Pixels podcast. We are live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Shaded Pixels podcast. You can find our videos. They go up on YouTube whenever it's not down.
Yeah.
Thursday mornings, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can also find us on Facebook, Shaded Pixels Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Shaded Pixels. You can even find us on your favorite podcast service like Spotify and Google Play. All you have to do is just search for that on there. You'll be bound to find it. iTunes is coming soon. I was on the phone with Apple during our break, and they said, "Look, we know that you're wanting to get iTunes on there. We want you, and we'll be more happy. We just gotta get the glitches out of the way." So, we got that working for you.
They hate us.
No, they love me. They hate everybody else. As you can see, Esteban and BJ, they all have those stinking Android phones. I'm the Apple guy. I got you. I got you.
Okay. I see how it is.
Yeah. But speaking of my two lovely hosts, we all got stuff that we produce ourselves. So, Esteban, my brother, what do you have for us on your channel?
Not much. I took the weekend off, so a lot of the planned videos that I had to go up on my channel are not ready yet. Having said that, though, I did manage to make the final 2 videos for Sonic Adventure playthrough to go up. So the second to last episode was supposed to go up today, but it did not because it was late, because I didn't edit it until Monday. But it will go up tomorrow, and the finale, like I had said, will be on Friday. Will still be on Friday, so you can check that out. But that's all the videos. So no Alice Madness Returns, no fighting game video. We'll see what happens next week. On my blog, I don't have anything planned to go up yet. I am working on stuff, working on some reviews, such as the Spiral reviews, which I have decided to post all during the week before the Reignited Trilogy goes up, so it'd be more topical. The first one is already done. Working on the second one. Another thing, My Gaming Landscape, I'm going to be moving it. I haven't announced this yet. I'm going to be moving it to Tuesdays, so that I can have the end of the weekend be like the ending point of that, because I feel like that makes more sense. People play video games during the weekend usually. And then give me Monday, the entirety of Monday, to write it, so it goes up early on Tuesday. Streaming, still trying to find the time to do it. When I do, it will be more Yakuza Kiwami 2. And other than that, just follow me at Hey Colorwin on everything social media. You can also play games with me. Maybe, it's probably not, but I mean, you can still follow me on Xbox and all that kind of stuff at Colorwin. And it will stay Colorwin, I think, even though the PSN name change is a thing. But I wasn't dumb when I made my PSN name. It's just Colorwin. So I've been fine.
Beautiful. I love it. BJ, see you've been streaming again. Tell us all about that and more, and what you've been up to.
Shame on you when you step through to the old dirty bastard. Brooklyn Zoo. Oh, sorry. That's not what I was doing on my channel. I have actually been digging into a bit of Blops 4, and it's been okay. It's, you know, it's almost like falling back in love with your ex. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. So I mean, it's rubbing that itch, that I had for playing with friends that I haven't played with in a long time, because there wasn't something that we both really wanted to play. Because I wasn't all in on Call of Duty World War II, even though some of my friends were. They weren't all in on Battlefield 1, even though I was. And nobody plays Halo anymore. So, there was like that void. None of my friends play Overwatch, which is amazing. I don't play Fortnite. None of them do either. So it's like, where do you begin, right? So this was kind of like ground zero for us, something familiar for everybody. Everybody I know loved all the Black Ops games. So this was like a good entry point to get back into, crew, form up like Voltron, because, we tried Destiny 2, and that only lasted for a few weeks. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm feeling good. I'm doing the whole Blops 4 thing. I'm trying to stream that a bit. I've kind of slowed down on streaming State of Decay 2 because I'm like on my 4th playthrough. So I'm almost, done with the 4th playthrough on State of Decay 2. I haven't been streaming that much. And then I'm kind of I kind of made a deal with the devil, so it seems, with the microtransaction heavy NBA 2K19. So I've been trying to grind through that without paying extra money for VC. So my 75 overall level center that I'm playing with he's doing okay. So I get in and I play in the rec center every once in a while, just to show people that you don't have to be a level 90 in order to have a decent game in NBA 2K. So there's a lot of people that can't play NBA 2K. So yeah, I'm trying to do that. If I was very ambitious and I was back on my streaming schedule, I would try to set up a regular time for me to stream MechWarrior Online like I used to love to do during the weekends. But my schedule's still doing this right now. So eventually I'm going to get that set up for you guys where I can do that regularly on the weekends. I will definitely try to continue to stream Wednesday nights, as always, at 10 o'clock. Just doing whatever at Bunny 3000 on Twizitch. And I'll probably co-stream it on my YouTube channel if it's working. But yeah, follow me all over the interwebs at Bunny 3000 everywhere except for Google Plus, because that won't be anymore.
Yep.
Yes.
A couple of things. BJ, I actually checked out I actually checked out a couple of your streams, and yeah, they're kind of good. Everyone should be checking them out. They were pretty interesting.
I'm getting there. There.
Although I will say, the YouTube stream is funky.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Not surprising.
Go to Twitch.
Yeah.
Just go to Twitch. Oh, and you keep saying Wu-Tang, so I'm gonna do this. Weezer, baby. Weezer. That's the only other W band I can think of that I actually know this from.
That's right. We love you guys. Thanks for watching.
Sean, you tell us about your stuff. Tell us about Jonathan Studios.
Yes, because I have brought everything back up from where it was. Speaking of console makers rising back, I have risen back from where I was. Now I'm trying to get a more consistent schedule. You will not see me stream, not with the crappy internet that I have. So streaming is not going to be happening. But you can always check out my YouTube channel. I have Let's Plays going up on Wednesdays. I'm posting them at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, and in the afternoon, not in the morning, because I'm not going to post videos in the morning. That's just dumb, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's where I have Let's Plays of Murdered Soul Suspect going up. I'm also putting up experience share videos. Those are the videos that I play games with other people. Those are going up Mondays at the same time. And I'm also planning on putting up more scripted videos, like my reviews and my thoughts on stuff, as well as getting back my old movie critique series. That's going to be trying to come back. I'm going to try to get that to post on Saturdays, around about the same time as everything else. But you can always check up on everything that I'm doing by subscribing to my YouTube channel, Jonathan Studios. You can find me on Twitter at Little Big Ham. You can find me on Twitch at Little Big Ham if I ever do decide to start streaming again. And of course, Facebook, Jonathan Studios. Find me right there. But ladies and gentlemen, you heard of all of us. You've heard of the Shady Pixels podcast. We hope to see you again next week. Same time, same channel, same formats. We love you guys.